Hello, this is Johnny Chisholm, and I would like to discuss the new version of the Environmental Evaluation Planning Tool, or EEPT version 2. The main change with the new version of the EEPT is the new narrative lookup feature. Many cells have pre-written narratives that can be selected. Most of these cells also have a narrative information box that instructs the user on the availability of the narratives and how to use them. In the short term, using the EEPT during conservation planning will assist planners to more efficiently and appropriately complete much of the NRCS CPA 52. In the future, all of the narratives and perhaps the functionality can be incorporated into CDSI. Narratives can be edited after they are selected by double-clicking in the cell or clicking the cell content window at the top of the spreadsheet. And it's very important that the user understands they must fill in all blanks in the narratives and replace bracketed text with site-specific information. They should not leave any blanks in the final CPA 52. The narratives are stored in separate tabs in the spreadsheet. The narratives are formatted as tables so the user may print a copy of the narratives for reference. The tables are not locked, so states may edit the narratives to better fit state or local conditions, and additional narratives may be added. I will now demonstrate the EEPT version 2 in a conservation planning situation. Here is the scenario we will use. A producer, John A. Smith, comes into your office and wants some help. He operates a farm with some cropland, about 260 acres, in a soybean and corn rotation. He mentions that the yields on his cropland have been dropping, and he uses a conventional tillage system. He wants to continue producing crops, but would be open to making some changes to improve yields. The farm has been in his family for 3 generations, but if his productivity does not improve, he is not sure how long he can continue to farm. He is also concerned about how the streams on his farm are becoming increasingly muddy. Since we have that information, we have already started the planning process and have some information for steps 1 and 2. Identify problems and determine objectives. The planner should use the environmental evaluation process throughout the planning process. So let's get started on the environmental evaluation. We will open the EEPT. The EEPT opens to the Benchmark Selection tab. Upon initial use, you may get a security warning and you will need to enable the macros. Once that's done, you can click on the Begin CPA 52 button. A dialog box opens where we can enter information. Click in the Client field and enter the client's name. Click in the Farm Tract ID field and enter the tract and field numbers. Click in the Client Objectives field and enter the client's objectives. In the Select Applicable Land Uses window, click on all the land uses on the farm. In this case, we will only choose cropland. Then click the Review Benchmark Conditions button. Only the resource concerns that are applicable to cropland are displayed. At this time, since we have not completed the resource inventories, we cannot document any of the resource concern conditions. However, we can enter some other information on the CPA 52, so we will click on the CPA 52 tab at the bottom. Notice that the information entered into the dialog box is transferred to the CPA 52. We can also enter some information in the Need for Action, so we click the Need for Action cell and enter the information. The Need for Action has been added. We may need to add to the statement once we have completed field visits and resource inventory, because we may identify other concerns. As part of our pre-planning, we may have gathered some information available in the office prior to resource inventories, and we can record benchmarks for any special environmental concerns that are known. For example, from an EPA website, we have determined that there are no non-attainment areas near the planning area. So we should record that information for the Clean Air Act Special Environmental Concern benchmark. We need to scroll down to Section G to document Special Environmental Concern benchmarks. If we click in the benchmark cell for the Clean Air Act, an information box appears telling us the type of information that is needed and the availability of pre-written narratives. So we click the drop-down button. The pre-written narratives appear and we select the applicable one. Since there are blanks in the narrative, we double-click on the narrative to type in information in the blank. The Clean Air Act benchmark is entered. We have also reviewed the USGS topographic map and determined that there is a stream on the farm which may be a possible waters of the U.S. So we click the Clean Water Act Section 404 benchmark cell. An information box appears telling us the type of information that is needed and the availability of pre-written narratives. So we click the drop-down button. The pre-written narratives appear and we select the applicable one. We could double-click to edit the narrative, or in this case, we will click in the cell contents window at the top and replace the bracketed text with site-specific information and fill in any blanks in the narrative. The narrative is updated with site-specific information. We should continue to document any special environmental concern benchmarks that can be determined from information gathered in the office before the field visit. After we have documented all the information that we can gather in the office, it is time to go to the field and inventory the resources.